We've got Kurt Russell with a flamethrower, alien dogs, spider heads, and we've even got rib cages with razor sharp teeth. Is this just another 80s blood-soaked body horror flick? Or is it the greatest alien movie ever made? Well, Jenks, we're finally doing it. We're reviewing my favourite movie of all time, and we've got John Carpenter's 1982 alien masterpiece, The Thing. Oh my God, this is just the greatest movie ever. I have loved this movie since I was a kid. This is the movie that introduced me to horror. It introduced me to John Carpenter, Kurt Russell. It's the first movie I watched where I was conscious of actors. I was conscious of design, directors, everything. John Carpenter's the first person I went, that guy, I need to see other films he made. And then you find out he directed Halloween, The Fog, Escape from New York, Prince of Darkness. It really is just one of the most, one of the ultimate movies, and one I go back to all the time. Huge fan of this film.
You forgot to mention The Ward. He didn't direct it. Let's pretend he didn't direct it.
That one's. Let's not mention that.
Oddly enough, I watched Escape from LA on Saturday because he popped up on my and I enjoyed it, but it's dog shit.
Yeah,
but
I actually rewatched it a few weeks ago because I always come back round to it because I want to love it because it's John Carpenter and Kurt Russell, Snake Plissken, but oh my God, there's so many scenes in that movie that makes me switch off. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. That's another video.
Yes.
You owe me a big time for this because you've been begging to do this video for so long. And seeing as you let me do Return of the Living Dead, it's only fair, you know? I really like this film. It doesn't have the same impact as it does on you or my wife. But I don't have a bad word to say about it. It's just, some films just click more than others, and you can't quite put your finger on it, but this is one of them. But I watched it last night in preparation for this. I had to pay for it as well. It was like $3.99 or $5.99 to buy. I thought, well, okay, I'll buy it then.
I've got it on Blu-ray and 4K about 15 times,
I used to have it on DVD, no offense. My wife did. But anyway, stuck it on. I love this film. It's a really good film. One of my favorite bits in it is the opening titles. I love it.
Yes.
I don't really know the history of it. I'm guessing it was some kind of, they were burning something, and
that's exactly what he did. Yeah, it's literally paper being burnt through. Can't remember the name of the guy who done it now, but yeah, it's literally that.
It's a great setup. They're in this like research center in the middle of, is the Antarctica or somewhere?
Antarctica, yeah. Outpost 31.
Yes, and I was quite unclear what they're actually doing there. It's just kind of a research center, isn't it? They don't really go into detail. But
as far as I know, yeah.
But there's this dog comes, and there's helicopters trying to shoot it, and it's clearly infected with some sort of alien parasite. And one by one, it picks off these men in this research center. And they can take the form of humans, take the form of a dog, and it is so good. It's got a little bit of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but it is balls to the wall body horror,
Yeah, absolutely. It is the best body horror movie. And like you said, Jenks, obviously the film opens up. We've got that great scene where the dog has escaped from the Norwegian camp. And what they say to the dog while they're shooting it in Norwegian, if you have subtitles on, it literally tells you the plot of the movie. That there is something in that dog. Kill it, goddammit. Do not let it anywhere near you. But they say it in Norwegian, and obviously no one in that camp can speak Norwegian, so they don't hear what the guys say. And obviously they take the dog into Outpost 31, and then that's where the film starts. And that's where they really amp up this film, and it's that first scene where you get to see the alien, and obviously they put the dog. I think the dog's name is Jed. They put the dog in with the rest of them, and all hell breaks loose. And you've got that first great scene in that dark, horrible dog pit.
Yes,
and you've got all the shit coming out of the back of it. And
anything,
oh my God.
anything like stringy and worm related is
Oh,
always
it's the worst.
disgusting, isn't it? Like tapewormy, sort of fucking horrible. That the dog in it deserved an Oscar. There's something so sinister about that dog.
Yes,
Because he's
yes.
not, it's not just that he's a nasty dog and he's growling or barking, he's just silent. And the dog trainer deserves an Oscar as well because it is really unsettling. Do you know what I mean?
It is, and there's a bit in particular where that particular dog is walking down the corridor, and you see a shadow of someone which you think has just been taken over by the thing, and it's the way it just stops and just stares,
Yeah,
and
those
that scene
moments.
as well, right? And this is what's great about the film is, if I go into a bit more detail about what the thing means and how the film is done, it's basically it's about trust and it's about anxiety, and it's you've got all these researchers stuck in this compound, and none of them want this thing to get out. They find out quite early on in the film what this thing is and what it can do, and they absolutely know that they cannot let this thing get out of this research center, so they do everything they can. But the only problem is no one trusts each other because they know that this thing can take the form of anyone. So that's when obviously the tension rises in Outpost 31, because we can't even trust anyone. And the
Yeah,
best thing about this film is that John Carpenter does not hold your hand. He doesn't explain anything. Everything is left up to you. And that's what I love about this film. He doesn't treat us like we're idiots. And going back to that scene where the dog is walked in the corridor and you see the shadow, he's so much so, right, doesn't want to hold our hand, that that shadow is from no one in the film. So the guy's shadow in that door room, it doesn't represent anyone. So we can't even go, oh, that's McGreedy's body shape, or that's Childs' body shape,
yeah,
or Palmer. It's no one's, and that's the beauty of this film, is that we don't trust anyone, and just as much as they don't trust anyone,
yeah,
and that's the beautiful experience about this
yeah,
film.
yeah.
Nobody trusts anybody now. We're all very tired.
Do you know what? All the great tension in this film, okay, all the great characters, Kurt Russell's performance cannot beat the practical effects. I watched it with my wife last night, okay, and again, I've seen this film lots of times, and I want to love it as much as you do. I just really, really like it a lot, and but I was in awe of the practical effects. I have never seen anything like it in my life. Not just the creature designs themselves, where
Of course.
the spider head and all those are fantastic. The splicing of things, where but you know just the way the chest rips open, the scene in the dog pit, like you're saying, like all this shit is happening. The mouth that comes out is almost like a flower. The I can't remember who did the practical effects now. Who's it?
Rob Barton, and he was 22 years old when he worked in this film.
Honest,
22 years old.
honestly, right? I have never seen anything like it. I mean, Brain Dead has got some amazing practical effects, but it's not just Brain Dead. Just got cool sort of deaths, body horror, but this is
Yes, of
just not only
course.
has it got great,
It's intricate.
intricate. It's got, but it's got very original looking monsters that do original things that you've never seen before. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Like I've
Yeah.
seen obviously the scene where they do the defibrillators, and that's I
Yes,
mean
I
that
wanted
scene.
to, yeah, I wanted to talk about that one in
We'll go back to
particular.
that, but
Yeah.
I just couldn't believe, and I haven't seen this film for a long time. I just thought, oh my god, I I really there's always a place for CGI. Like Terminator 2 was the perfect example of using practical effects spliced with CGI, but obviously there's overuse now in modern films. But this gets it perfect, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. It is my favorite practical effects movie, not just my favorite movie. Rob Bottin absolutely knocks this one out of the park, and it's as iconic as some of the scenes that we got from Rick Baker in American Werewolf in London,
Yeah,
which we've spoke about recently. And it is genre-defining makeup work, and in particular the scene where Norris is laid up on the bed and he's getting defibrillated, and everything in that whole scene and everything that comes after it is just the greatest piece of work I've ever seen. It's the
yeah,
way where it gives you a jump scare as well. He goes down and the chest opens up.
Yeah.
And it's the way his arms rip
Oh,
off, the blood, the bones, the skin tearing, everything.
yeah.
And then Norris's head stretching and pulling, and you can see all the green veins popping and exploding.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Even the way his head just slopes and drops over the side.
Yeah.
And then you've got that iconic scene with Palmer when obviously the head grows legs and he turns around and he goes, "You gotta be fucking kidding."
You gotta be fucking kidding.
Like,
And they actually replicated that whole scene in obviously It Chapter 2 because the head grows legs and
yeah.
Bill Hader says, "You've gotta be fucking kidding me." It's a
Do you know?
great homage.
Yeah, and you just can't believe it was made in 1982. Like,
Yeah, I know.
it's
It's
feel
insane.
almost like I hope like you got the new Alien film coming out now, Romulus, right? And I
Yeah.
really hope we see a return because I know they're using practical effects in that predominantly or mainly. I don't know, whatever they're going to do, but
Yeah.
I hope it becomes a resurgence now because I'm sick of CGI.
Yeah, me too.
I loved CGI at the start, like in Terminator 2 or in Independence Day. This was great. That's why I'm not that worried about AI because we're rejecting AI even before it's really taken off.
Yes.
Whereas
Yes.
we loved CGI when it first came out. We were like, oh, have you seen the CGI on this and that? We were rejecting AI from the start, and only in the last few years I'll be like, do you know what? I want practical. Like, I think that's what made Top Gun 2 so good that he was in a real plane, everything was real, and you promote it that way,
Yeah, of course. It's coming back round. And if anything, I hope people can just look back on this film and at least people in a position to be making films and go, this is what we need to do. And we can do it. We've got the facilities to do it. You've
Yeah,
still got top class makeup artists. You can still do this. And I think Fed Alves obviously is someone who's using practical effects. Now, like we're talking about this film and we're saying how great it is. When this movie came out, it was a critical failure and a review failure. This film was absolutely battered from pillar to post by all the top critics. They all said the same thing, just another schlocky crap 80s blood horror movie.
yeah.
All the critics were saying the same thing. It was released in cinema, it absolutely bombed. It went up against E.T. and it was it was dominated by E.T.
E.T., the
E.T.
contrast
I
between the two Alien films.
I know, and the thing is that E.T. was this fun, magical movie with a
Yeah,
happy ending that was fun for all the family. The Thing was dark, brooding, it had a horrible,
yes,
ambiguous ending.
yes,
And obviously, John Carpenter. So John Carpenter has signed up to, I think, a 4-picture deal with Universal. The Thing was his first movie. Now, after the failure of this movie, he was basically sacked from Universal and they didn't want to work with him because of the failure of this movie.
yeah,
Now, I wouldn't change anything about John Carpenter's career. I love all the movies he's done up until a certain point. But what could have been if this film came out and it was a huge success? What were those other 3 big
yeah,
studio movies John Carpenter would have worked for? Do you know what I mean?
yeah. Do you know?
Um,
Yeah, sorry, are you finished?
yeah, go on.
So, do you know, it's almost like the story of the prequel because I've rewatched that a few times and I think that got a bit of a bad rap. Like, it has got its flaws. There's too much CGI, like we mentioned.
Yeah.
I think there's some practical effects, but you can see they're using a bit
Well,
of C. And
the
it's
the
a, it's
the film was built for practical effects and the studio stepped in.
I
So
just, yeah,
the yeah, so a lot of it is practical with CGI over the top of the practical effects.
right. I watched it, and because I like this, I thought it was like, oh, how could you? I know it's a prequel, but it's basically a remake.
Yeah.
But I've rewatched it since with fresh eyes, and I just thought, it's a pretty decent film. I just think
Yeah.
it's not as good as the original thing, and that's where it ends. So I don't think people should just shit on it because it's not a disaster by any means. The prequel,
No,
um,
it's not a disaster, and it falls into that category of trying to follow up
yeah,
to one of the greatest movies of all time.
yeah,
Something I want to talk about, Jenk, something I want to brush past is our favorite scenes in the movies. Now, my favorite scene in the whole of the film, and this is just for the whole scene, not just something in particular that happens. And it is one of the most iconic scenes. It has been replicated so many times in pop culture. There's even a scene in South Park when they replicate this whole scene. And it's when McGreedy ties everyone up to the chairs and decides to test their blood.
Yeah.
And we've got this great scene where McGreedy comes up with this plan that the Thing's cells will try to protect themselves, as if they are singular organisms that have taken over the body. So, say for instance, he cuts someone's finger open and heats up the blood. The Thing will try to protect itself by running away. So he ties everyone up to this chair and makes them all takes a sample of their blood, cuts their finger open, and he puts them into these containers with their names on it. What he does is he's got his flamethrower and he's got this little hot needle, and he heats the needle up and just puts it into the blood. And if the blood reacts, tries to run away, we know who the Thing is, because obviously our blood wouldn't do that. And it's quite a genius scene. And the tension in this scene is just insane. It's like it goes on for like 10 minutes and you're going through everyone one by one, and he's just there heating up the pin and then putting the pin in to test the blood. And even the sound of the hot pin hitting the blood, I love it. And like I said, it's just such a great tense scene. And like McGreedy predicted when he started doing this, he gets to Palmer's blood. And he puts the hot needle on the blood, and we get that great jump scare when the blood jumps out from the container. And Palmer, who is sitting on the end, instantly starts to shake, obviously revealing that he is the Thing. And with all the tension that goes on in this scene, it gives us one of the funniest moments in the movie. It's when obviously they're all stuck together and the rest of them are just screaming and jumping and trying to get loose from this chair, because obviously Palmer is the Thing and he's going crazy next to them. And it is just by far my favorite scene in the whole movie.
Because they're stuck to him. He's like, yeah, they're trying to move away. That's a great scene. I think, to be honest, I know it's a bit boring, but two scenes I really love. I obviously love the one with the defibrillators. That you know it's coming. It's a little bit like Alien, where you know that scene's coming with the chest bursting. Obviously, this is far more intense, far more original, far more unexpected. There is no human in the world could ever predict this for the first time. You just couldn't fathom that a chest could just eat his arms, rip them off. Because I think the actor they replaced didn't have any arms. I'm sure they did a stunt double, isn't it? A guy with no arms.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know.
I think I read that. But I love the simple the opening scene. I love the ambiguous. Oh, I can't say it. Ambiguous moment of them shooting the dog, trying to shoot the dog. I love simple scenes like that of like, why would these people be trying to shoot the dog? Why are they really like almost risking their lives to shoot this dog? And it's like, and for me, watching it for the first time, it would be like, I love that question mark over like, there's something not right about this dog. And I love scenes like that. You know, obviously there's loads of good ones, but I like simple.
Yeah, definitely. And it opens up with Ennio Morricone's fantastic original score for the movie, which was nominated for a Razzie Award. Like, this is how much, right? Critics and people hated this movie when it came out, that they nominated Ennio Morricone's score, which is now one of the more iconic scores he's done.
Yeah.
And he gets nominated for a Razzie Award, which is just insane to me. And it's the first movie that John Carpenter had actually hired someone to do a score, because he's quite iconic for doing them himself. But he did hire Ennio Morricone to do the score for this one. And a lot of the inserts that they didn't use on this film, Tarantino actually used for The Hateful Eight, which is highly inspired by The Thing.
Yes.
So they actually used inserts that weren't used in this film for that one. And obviously Ennio Morricone came on board to do that one as well.
No, the last thing I'm going to say about this awesome movie is that I'm allergic to dogs. So that dog, whether it's got a parasite inside it or not, I'll still be away, keeping away from that fucker. He's staring at me like, keep away.
Absolutely. Now, I just wanted to touch over the famous ambiguous ending. I know it's a hot topic for everyone. And obviously, just from watching it myself and looking at everything online, there is so many different endings to this movie, and none of them are confirmed by John Carpenter. He has literally flat out said, guys, I don't know the ending. It is up to you. Like, I don't know who the alien is. So the ending, we've got McGreedy and we've got Childs, and they're sitting there all the destruction has happened, everything is burning around them. Now, the best fan theory that is out there is early on in the film, right? MacReady is playing chess against the computer, voiced by John Carpenter's wife, Adrienne
Right.
Barbeau, who's super famous. And he's playing chess, right? And he loses the chess battle. He's
Computer
the white
chess.
piece. Yes, computer chess. He loses chess and he throws whiskey into the machine and it sparks and things. So at the end of the film, we've got MacReady and Childs sitting on the floor. Now, one of them is the thing, and we don't know that. Neither of them know it. Whoever it is, we don't know, right? But the last half of the film, MacReady is using Molotovs to blow the place up. And they're sitting there, and if you notice, MacReady's breath is huge, gushing out. Childs isn't. And then MacReady passes Childs his drink. He drinks it, doesn't react, right? Now, what everyone's theory is that
Yeah.
there's petrol inside that bottle, and that alien doesn't know what alcohol is supposed to taste like. So if he passes him a drink, he will drink it and just be like, oh yeah, that's what alcohol tastes like. But the second Childs drinks that alcohol, the music starts boom, 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 boom.
So
Now that to me is the definitive ending.
So why did he assume there's petrol in it?
No, so MacReady tricks the alien. So he goes, I'll give him this bottle
Oh yes, I
to
see.
drink. And then obviously if it was actually Childs, he'd drink it and he'd
Yes,
spit it out.
I see. Yes, that's a good ending.
Yeah, it is. But the second he drinks that bottle, the music starts and then obviously it ends.
Yes,
But I'm like, that's the definitive ending. But John Carpenter has said, look, I don't even know who the alien is. It is up to you. It's
Yeah.
meant to be ambiguous. It's not meant to have it's meant to be
Yeah.
an open ending.
yes. I suppose it's like we said with American Way for London that in the 70s you were allowed to have bleak endings, and it's
Yeah.
kind of like 82, so that's why people didn't like it, because you're like, okay, we've had enough of those. We want ET and a happy ending, you know.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. And they were not going to get that.
Yes, awesome film. If you haven't seen it, you need to check it out. It's pretty old now, but still awesome. Right, guys, if you enjoy horror reviews, rankings, please subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one. Cheers, guys.